Greetings and welcome to Perfectly Planted. I'm your co-host, Daphne Bascom, and I'm here with my wonderful co-host, Besame Schroering. If this is your first time joining us, thank you. Our why for this podcast is to plant the seeds of knowledge, innovation, resilience that can help support you on your health and wellness journey. Today, we've got a special guest. We have the pleasure of speaking with Dr. Nathan Gause. Dr. Gause is a colleague, a friend, and an amazing orthopedic surgeon who recently relocated to Missouri. And I have followed his career and his wellness journey for some time, and I'm just so excited that he's able to join us today. Dr. Gause, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Dr. Gause, really echoing Daphne, thank you for joining us. I'm really excited to have you on today. Would you mind introducing yourself and giving us a little bit about your background and also your journey in becoming an orthopedic surgeon?
Absolutely, would be happy to. Thank you very much for having me today. It's very exciting. I've been, thinking about this time with you guys for the last few weeks, so very excited to be here. So my name is Nathan Gause. I'm originally from Ohio. I'm the eldest of 5 children. I am the son of a minister and a teacher. I sort of got into medicine early, if you will. I was actually in a summer program the summer of my senior year, and became very interested in medicine. I ended up actually getting into orthopedics because of a mentor of mine, and for me, mentorship was huge. I've had mentors, I would say, the last 20 years, Dr. Bascom being one of them. And I was fortunate enough to run into a very, very cool orthopedic surgeon. And had he been anything else, had he been a cardiologist, had he been a neurologist, I likely would have wanted to be just like him, whatever he decided. But he decided to be an orthopod. So I said, I want to be like you. He was an African-American gentleman who actually trained at Vanderbilt. And he was the first Black resident there at Vanderbilt in Nashville, Tennessee. And he inspired me, encouraged me, and kind of picked me up when I was down to keep me on the path of becoming an orthopedic surgeon. And so I was fortunate enough to get into medical school in Mobile, Alabama, and then match into residency in orthopedics in Cincinnati, Ohio, where I was raised, and do a fellowship in Memphis, Tennessee, and to become a lower extremity specialized surgeon specifically. So that's sort of my journey into orthopedics.
Awesome.
Well, we're glad you didn't meet a cardiologist then. No, just teasing. So that is an amazing journey, especially for a Black man in a surgical field. The other thing that has really amazed me about your journey is your transition from being an omnivore to a predominantly plant-based diet. Can you share a little bit about what prompted your transition? And I mean, everyone can see that you look like you work out a lot, so you're physically healthy, but would love to understand more about your journey to becoming plant-based.
I appreciate that question. So it's a little bit personal. So if you guys don't mind me lifting the covers a little bit, I'll let you into a bit of my life and my background. So, like most African American communities, where my family history is riddled with a significant past medical history, and so hypertension, diabetes, kidney disease, et cetera, and certain various cancers, stroke. That's always been a fear of mine. Just I became more of a hypochondriac once I got into medicine, and so that was always a fear of mine. But I also was not immune to the fact that I thought I was invincible in my younger years, and so I ate what I wanted. I kind of did what I wanted. I didn't exercise very regularly because I figured I'll worry about that when I get old. When I get old, like in my 30s and 40s, then I'll consider doing something like that. And now I still feel very young despite my age. But and so I was first prompted to consider a diet change when I got my first job. I spent about 9 years in Iowa. So when I got out of fellowship and took that job, I was asked to do a screening for life insurance. And so I said, sure. I don't go to the doctor, but I'm sure I'm fine. Took the screening examination. They drew blood and whatnot, and I found out that my lipids were high. My entire lipid panel So all the fat was floating around in my body, and I just wasn't unaware. I was unaware of it, didn't realize it. So at the time, I didn't take it as seriously as I should have. Again, this was about 7 or 8 years ago now. Actually, it's more like 9 or 10 years ago. My numbers were high. My PCP at the time, who drew the lab, said, "Hey, you need to address this. Like, you need to either start on a statin or you should change your diet." I said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! I'm not taking any medicines in my early 30s, so we can forget that. I'll just go ahead and change up my diet a little bit." My change in diet was literally nothing. In my opinion, I thought I was changing. I ate a few salads here and there, and said, I'll keep on doing this. Well, fast forward about 4 or 5 years, labs are still abnormal. I forget why I had those drawn at that time, but labs were still very abnormal. So I said, you know what? I'll become a pescatarian. I'll do this solid, as if I wasn't doing myself a favor. I said, I'll do you the solid, doc. I'll become a pescatarian. I'll stop eating red meat. So I stopped eating red meat about 4 or 5 years ago now, and really haven't consumed much since. But I went to a pescatarian lifestyle. Fast forward to my journey leaving Iowa to Missouri, and now that I'm here, I had to take another life insurance examination. And guess what happened? Guess what was found? My labs were off again. So this is about a year ago. Again, had plenty of fat floating around in my blood, and I said, okay, I got to make a serious change now. I'm in my 40s. This is ridiculous. So I made a conscious effort and said, I'm going fully plant-based. For a variety of reasons. I had people around me, i.e. Dr. Bascom, and another doc named John Thurman, who actually was in Iowa with me, a primary care doctor who had gone plant-based about 2 years or so before me. And we had a heart-to-heart. He and I called him. I said, I feel like my arteries are slowly clogging up with fat. How can you help me? He asked about my diet and my exercise. And I told him, because he knew that I was pescatarian. He said, well, that's clearly not working. Change the game up. So with the support of him, support of my wife, completely transitioned to a plant-based diet for the last 9 to 10 months. I drew my labs about 3 or 4 months ago, and they're stone cold normal. All my labs are normal now. I'm back to what I should have been 9 or 10 years ago. So I am elated to say that because of diet and exercise, because of the lifestyle that I now choose to live, I'm very proud to say that I'm primarily plant-based in my consumption. And have made it a way of life versus a diet or a fad, if you will.
That's amazing. To hear that change, such a drastic change, really is profound. Dr. Gause, what have you found to be the primary benefits of plant-based, not aside from your lipid panel? I mean, what other benefits have you seen being plant-based?
Absolutely. I have some subjective answers for you. So
Okay.
to begin with, my energy level is bar none. I promise you I'm 43 years old. However, when I'm out and about, I get confused for not being that age. I get confused for not being that age all the time. And I know it's because of my consumption. I know it's because of the lifestyle that I've chosen to live. My workouts, my exercise regimens, if you'd asked me to work out 30 minutes plus, I would have probably not even shown up to the gym with you. Now I expect nothing less than putting an hour time in every day just to make sure that I'm getting enough cardio in. My ability to navigate the world isn't as exhausting. I have more time and energy now because of my consumption. For me personally, I had an issue with digestion that has gone away completely now. So my digestion is very routine and comfortable versus it being a decision whether I was going to eat this meal or not because I knew that I'd pay for it a few hours later or the next day. I don't have those thoughts anymore because my body is able to now digest more naturally. I think another big benefit for me has been joint pain. Beforehand, I did lift a little bit prior to going to more of a plant-based diet, but I would always pay for it as well thereafter. Now, when I work out first thing in the morning, there's no discomfort. There's no having to worry about is this knee going to bother me? Is this ankle going to bother me? I don't have generalized pain, and I'm not worried about having to get a rheumatological workup anymore because everything hurts. It doesn't hurt anymore. I don't feel that discomfort any longer. So I've had some really subjective changes for myself. I feel as if I'm probably in the best shape in my entire life that I've ever been. And I was active in sports when I was younger, but now I could kick young me's butt very easily if I needed to, very easily.
That's really great to hear. I know one of the things that I've noticed is after my husband and I watched Gamechangers, it was eye-opening, and very much so, because it puts in perspective that some of these myths that we hear, where you need, animal protein, lean animal protein, in order to build muscle and gain strength, is really not so much. Would love to get your quick thoughts on that perspective.
Yeah, I watched that movie a few times, to be quite honest with you. Quick sidebar: I have a partner at here at MU Orthopedics in Liberty that recently turned to a plant-based diet based on that movie, based on the Gamechangers movie, and he's not what you would call your typical. I guess if you're going to stereotype how plant-based people look, that's not him. He's been an omnivore all of his life, primarily carnivore all his life, and he's completely switched because of that movie. So that movie is definitely changing lives, and I've shared it with several patients and family members as well who are considering changes, if you will. Everybody doesn't change overnight, as you know. For myself, I believe it does help break that myth that you have to consume animal products in order to be fit, in order to be lean, in order to be functional, in order to gain energy, in order to build mass. That's all very, very false. And they talk about that many times over in the movie itself. You look at certain other species that share this earth with us that don't consume meat at all, and they're
That's
way
right.
stronger than anything, right? Strong as an ox, if you will. They don't eat meat. We know that. Look at primates, right? They're very strong. Like they're just in their cut, and they eat plants, primarily. So I think that for myself, and I've tried to do a reasonably good job at explaining that to patients when they do come in. Obviously, I'm seeing them episodically for orthopedic issues, but a lot of what they're experiencing is based on their diet. And I tried to help them understand that, the eggs, the milk, the cheese, the meat that you're consuming is in a way killing you. And so you need to reconsider your options there.
In talking about eggs, milk, and cheese, could you, as an orthopedic surgeon, so one question we often get as we're talking to our community on the podcast is, what about calcium? And for women in particular, especially women of a certain age, like my age, and we're all worried about osteoporosis or other things, but society or marketing has brainwashed us that you need milk, cow's milk, in order to get enough calcium. How do you talk to your patients about adopting a plant-based diet, but you can still get enough calcium from eating whole food, plant-based nutrition?
It could be a uncomfortable conversation when I do address this with patients, not only for themselves but also for their children. Right, I see a lot of kids and athletes, and trying to have those conversations takes time. And so, for one, I very specifically and very purposefully invest the time to have the conversation with these folks. What I tell them is that the cow's milk or animal milk is not necessarily the end all be all. I never try to disparage current practices, but I do educate them on myself. I made these decisions for myself, and here's why. And if you do trust me as your clinician, as your physician, then at least listen to my opinion on the matter. When you look side by side, when you do the research, you find that the plant-based products are fortified with the supplements and nutrients that you need, similar to the cow's milk. Because if you took cow's milk directly without fortification, it provides very little benefit. It too is also supplemented. But when you look at more plant-based, especially for those that have digestive issues, in the long run, that's a better option for you. And I tell them that you're going to get the exact same, if not more, nutrients and supplementation from plant-based milk, if you will, along with a variety of other foods, plant-based, put an asterisk in there, plant-based. You're going to get the supplements that you need. The other thing and I talk to them about, because it's more than just what you consume, right? It's also your lifestyle. I talk to my patients, even the younger ones, about yoga, stretching, active and fit lifestyle. All these things are very, very important. Lengthening the muscles, lengthening the tendons and the capsules. If you want to have decreased risk of a fracture due to osteoporosis or whatnot, you need to have a holistic approach to getting your body in more of a healthy space.
That's great feedback. Thank you. I wish you'd been my orthopedic surgeon. And I have had orthopedic surgery, unfortunately, but I think all of the health benefits that you have espoused are, I mean, at 55, I would say I have felt the same things. So I feel more energetic, less inflamed, and just generally more youthful than I have felt in a long time. But as much as I love talking about nutrition alone, with your permission, I'd like to change the topic a little bit and get your thoughts on something that has really become front and center over the past year in particular, which is how nutrition and our nutritional decisions and our lifestyle may impact Black and brown cultures in particular. Vesame and I spend a lot of time reading books and listening to other podcasts as we look for great topics to have conversations about. And one of the ones we've been listening to is a recent publication called Brother Vegan, which was really a collection of stories about Black and brown men and their transition to a plant-based lifestyle. Are there any thoughts you can share with the listeners about Black culture and how it relates to a plant-based lifestyle?
Absolutely. I do have a few opinions on that. I'll share one that I will commonly broach when I am treating patients of color, people that look like myself. And what I commonly will touch on is that, in Black culture, particularly more recently, there's been a hyper focus on self-care. I myself also subscribe to this, and what I will commonly educate my patients on is within the Black community, we're already predisposed to multiple comorbidities. I touched on that a little bit earlier. Hypertension, diabetes, just to name a few. All those things are lessened, all those risks are lessened, all the intensity of those comorbidities are lessened when we make choices to eat differently, to choose a different lifestyle than what has been historically common for Black and brown cultures. There's no secret, there's plenty of literature out there that talks about how systemic racism has affected the way that we consume, particularly in those underrepresented minority groups, particularly in the fact that when you look at things demographically, the not so good restaurants that are readily available, that one can readily avail themselves of, are right down the street from those more impoverished communities. As a result, that spirals, that actually creates a legacy of just bad choices because it's cheap, crappy food, and that just adds to the incidence of asthma in young children, and the incidence of the other comorbidities that you see in those communities. The recent wave that we've seen is again more of a self-care approach, taking those purposeful quality food type choices to help reset or redirect yourself in those daily actions and choices that will make a difference downstream for generations. And that's what I've seen more so as of late. That's what I've adopted more so as of late, not only with myself as well as with my family and extended family, having conversations that you can't keep doing the same thing that we're doing. We're slowly killing ourselves, and it is a conscious choice to live differently, to choose differently. Just because it's right in front of you doesn't mean that's what you have to do. In this case, consume. You don't have to consume it just because it's down the street from you.
Right. No, I agree. I mean, I think that sometimes our culture and the convenience tied with our go mentality causes us to make poor choices, and then those poor choices turn into habits that really are detrimental to our health in most cases. So that's really insightful. I do want to ask, as a successful physician, it's really important to have that strong mindset. Daphne and I really believe in really setting our mindset, especially after the year that we've had with the pandemic. And what I like to do specifically every day is start my day with a gratitude journal, and list out just 3 things that I'm grateful for. So, If you don't mind, would you mind giving us 3 things that you're extremely grateful for today?
Absolutely. I will try to limit it to 3 because I practice a similar practice on a daily basis. So I'll try to limit it to 3. The first thing that I am eternally grateful for is that I have 2 very loving and supportive parents who've been married for, how old am I? 45 long years. And as their eldest, they have propped me up in times of need, and they've supported me and applauded me for every single accomplishment that I've actually been able to achieve. So that's probably my first thing. Without them, I would not be in this position. I would not be participating in this lovely conversation with the 2 of you. I would not aspire to do better and do more and be great. So for that, I give thanks and gratitude on a daily basis, if you will. The other thing I'm very, very grateful for is my health and the health of my family and friends around me. Being in medicine, you can sometimes become very, very jaded, and you're used to seeing death and pestilence about you. And with this recent year that we've had, it's become even more commonplace, or it's at least more upfront, if you will. And just the fact that I've made choices to better myself, to better my life, and to grasp the health and appreciate the health that I have, and to perpetuate it in the lives of others. The opportunity for that and to be able to experience that, I am ever grateful for. Ever grateful for. See, you said 3, so all right, this is my last one. I gotta make it a good one.
Last one, make it a good one.
All right. I am grateful for the opportunities that have been afforded me to reach back and help underrepresented minorities at all levels, whether it be elementary, junior high, high school, undergrad, medical school, residency, reaching back, because the opportunities that I was given are just that, they're opportunities. There were a lot of barriers that were placed in front of me, and the support of others who were willing to reach back to help get me where I am today has inspired me and encouraged me, and I actually feel very obligated to do the same because without them, I can't be what I can't see, and without them, I couldn't get to that point. And so, the ability to be able to give back, particularly with my new role at the University of Missouri, being on medical staff with that institution, allows me that opportunity to work directly with not only residents and medical students, but also living in Kansas City allows me to work with such institutions as the Boys and Girls Club to really provide a boots on ground, grassroots approach to helping those that are underrepresented to have a fighting chance and to be great. Because they're already great, they just need to be watered, right? They need to be fed and watered and allowed to blossom and grow and have sunlight on them to get to that point. So I would say that's my 3rd one. Since you only gave me 3, that's my 3rd one that I'm very grateful.
Those are good. Those are good.
In those 3, thank you, first of all. I mean, I think we all have things to be grateful for, probably even more than we can think of. But your comments actually brought to mind a question. And as we close today, I'd love to get your thoughts. And I'm borrowing this question from a question that President Obama frequently asks his Obama fellows. And that is, describe your world as it is today, and then describe your world as you would like it to be.
Can you give me like 15 seconds? Let me formulate an answer here because this is loaded for me. Okay, here we go. So my world as it is today. Currently, it's full of inequity. Currently, it's full of fear of that which is different. Currently, it's full of self-centeredness and a lack or willful silence or ignorance about those around you. The hope and the light that I see is that all that can be changed. And to answer the second part of that question is the world as I would like for it to be. I would like for the world to recognize itself as a multicultural place where respect and mutual admiration reign supreme. I would like to see a world where I'm not concerned about taking a jog down the street, despite what neighborhood I'm in. I like a world where everyone is guaranteed safety and those inalienable rights that this country was founded on. I'd like to live in a world or see the world, or the way I'd like for it to be is not to have a concern that if my young minority son leaves the house that he may not return, based on no fault of his own, but other than the way that he looks or the hue that he touts about, the beautiful hue that he touts about on a daily basis. Or for that matter, him sitting in his own home, in the comfort of his own home, playing video games and potentially still his life being taken. That's the sort of world that I'm looking for, a world where a simple traffic stop doesn't necessarily mean that my life may be coming to an end on that day. And when you put all that together, obviously that's very focused on myself, but what that means is a world where mutual respect and consideration is given to everyone, despite their external presence, but on the basis of them being a human being and a part of the human race.
Absolutely. I that's extremely, I very much appreciate that. I think that, you know, for many years, it's been something, you know, the hopes of many, and just recently has been brought back to light, which I hope never goes away. It's something absolutely that, a world that we should see. It's what we deserve as well. Dr. Gause, thank you for joining us today. It was extremely insightful, you joining our Perfectly Planted podcast here. If anyone listening today would like to contact you directly, where can they reach you?
Oh, absolutely. So I'm on LinkedIn. I think I'm going to use my name, L. Nathan Gause, MD. So please feel free to reach out there. I also, so again, I'm a little older, so I just got into Instagram. Thanks to my, it's the truth. It's the truth. I'm not gonna lie. So I can be found at KC Ortho Couple on Instagram. Actually, I have to give credit to my wife for that because again, I'm older. She's not, and so she has me now on social media. So it's KC Ortho Couple.
Never too late.
And you are not that old.
I don't know if
No.
I appreciate that.
No. I mean, I can't thank you enough for joining us today. This has been a wonderful conversation. We could probably talk for an hour, and I would love to invite you back to a future conversation when you have the time. I know your practice is busy, and we value all the insight that you shared with the audience today and that you share it with us. You know, your personal journey has been one that I invested in and love seeing you make the achievements that you have over the past, I feel like maybe it's been 10 years, and even more excited to see what you're going to achieve in this next 10 years, because there's great things ahead for you.
You are far too kind. I appreciate your continued support. I will come back anytime. I'll come back weekly if you need me to. I love it. This is fun.
No, it was extremely insightful. Loved having you on as well, Dr. Gause. I do want to ask our viewers, what is one key thing that you learned today or resonated most with you today that will really positively impact your health and wellness? We really want to hear from you. So please comment on Facebook or on YouTube and share your feedback. Also, if you enjoyed this live stream, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button on Facebook or YouTube and like it. Please give us our comments. We want to hear from you, what you enjoyed, what other areas of focus you would like to have. And also please subscribe so that you get recent updates as we continue to take on our journey of perfectly planted conversations. So be well, everyone. We'll talk again soon, and thank you all so much.
Take care.
Thank you.